because according to him, they are the most vulnerable people in the society. The reason, because they will always need a kind of support. Not like other vulnerable people that maybe you give education, you give skill, then they became independent. But for our people with the intellectual disability, they will always have a need, somebody to work with them. So he encouraged us, all of us religious, to wherever we'll go, wherever we'll have a mission, we must have a center for these special people. And personally, I really love this mission. Has been for me a real school, university of life, because through them I've learned how to be grateful in life, how to learn more about tolerance, how we need to learn how to accept each other with our difference, and also to discover that everybody in this society has a kind of disability.
Jina langu David Ndia. Napenda kulima, familia, kuharvest, naweka mbolea kwa bed, nafunika, kupanda, naweka drips.
Mimi nasikia mzuri sana, nafuraha sana. Tunaongea na watoto huko na tunaongea na walimu. Na tarafa na wale wengine wote na walimu wetu. Sasa kienda nyumbani ni kuongea na mama yangu, brother zangu, sister zangu, na kuongea na watu wale wengine na kuenda kikundi na kwa mama vile sasa tunaenda.
Kwa shamba huwa namwagilianga maji, sukuma na spinach na carrot.
These students, to get the concept of the vocational training, it was very hard. But during the process of the training, they start gradually got the skills of farming. And most of them, they really perform, they demonstrate the skills that they have, the skills that they gain during the training, that they can perform and produce vegetables to feed themselves, to feed the community, and also to sell so that they can earn their income.
For them, they are doing with the physically disabled people. For us, we are doing with the financially disabled people. So we have a meeting point, and ours is essentially a total life transformation. So for us is to thank you for what you have done. I have gone down the entire farm and I have seen people whom you would have thought they could never do anything. They are now able to do something physically, they are able to communicate, and it is very, very, very inspiring.
Alikuwa anaonekana dull, lakini siku hizi you have seen she is very active and interact well na watoto, wa mama, vijana. She is very nice and she has joined even the church youth groups like YASA. She's a member of the YASA group, young adults.
This is true jubilation for us. And anybody she meets out there, she tells them that she's graduating and you need to come. So she's truly, truly excited to be able to graduate. And for me, it's more even more than that, because I have both my parents who passed. So for me, representing my parents who invested their time, who invested their energy, they invested so much for her to be in the situation that she is in right now. So it's a true honor for me.
And I'm very happy to see him graduating this time. All of us, even my parents, are very happy for him. We're really excited, even him. We are hoping to see him to prosper after being here in Orieno Center. And we are looking forward to work together with him and help him in any way that we can.
I had an open mind, and one thing I've learned which has struck me is they have a lot of potential. All they need is the skills. like he's done a lot in terms of agriculture.
That they should be given a chance to show their awesomeness, because honestly these people are amazing. They have great spirit, they have great character, and they have great potential. And I think as a young person, I would encourage every other young person to not only come to Orieno Center and participate and help, but also to look at their communities and see where they can impact people and where they can make a change.
Wow, that was a beautiful example, a snippet of what we've been talking about while we're advocating for the rights of children with disability. A very good example there from the Orieno Community Training Center. We say always that disability is not inability. The inability we create artificially on our own by denying the people with disability opportunities to be useful people in the society. We deny them chances to go to school, we deny them chances to be employed, we deny them even chances to be registered as citizens of this particular country so that they can be able to take part in all the important activities and decisions that pertain this country. No wonder we say disability is not inability. What we need to do is to create such opportunities for people with disability to be able to feel like they're part and parcel of the whole society. How do we achieve that exactly? This is what we will be talking about this morning on Family Check. And joining me on set, it's a panel of two, and one you saw on that particular clip, just interacting with the children with disabilities, and has been a very, very vocal person and a very active person when it comes to making sure that on a day-to-day basis, these children get an opportunity to see life to the fullest, to maximize their potential and become useful citizens. I'm talking about none other than Father Alejandro Ruiz, who is the director of the Orieno Community Training Center, which is under the Catholic Congregation of Sons of Divine Providence. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And of course, joining us as well on set, we are having Fael Aching Odeny, the Advocacy Officer at the Kenya Association of the Intellectually Handicapped. Thank you so much for joining me, both of you, this morning to talk about matters advocating for the rights of children with disabilities. Perhaps, Father, I'd like to start from, what we just watched a few minutes ago while we were just interacting and awaiting to start this conversation. A beautiful example, I must say, that you're setting there. You were sharing with me that even they were taken through an exercise of opening bank accounts, and, there's that mentorship program that's coming up for them. Tell me more about, this initiative and how far you plan to go with it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you first for the invitation. We are happy here to join this panel and to talk about these important topics. First, to say that I belong to a religious congregation, Sons of Divine Providence, and for our founder, Luis Orieno, Italian priest, the most vulnerable people are those who have intellectual disability. This is our mission, to work with them and to promote them. So wherever we are going, we are more in 33 countries all over the world. Wherever we are, we need to create interns for those people. And in Kenya, we start with this center, especially because we say about intellectual disability or about disability in general. There are so many resources, studies, but now people need to see something that is possible to do, something that is possible to even assimilate in my life. So we always try to do something that is visible. First, to make visible, exactly. So first to make visible our students, because even people in Kenya are still asking, where are them? 4 million of people with disability in Kenya, where are them? They are in everywhere. So first we want to make them visible. Secondly, is to provide them what is lacking there, if it is rehabilitation, if it is education, stimulation. So we start to do this process. Some of them are very small, others are a little bit bigger. And then after you receive rehabilitation, what's happened? This is how we create the area of training. In our case, we concentrate in farming, horticulture, so even the community can see.
So we have done a process with them in the center in Kandisi for 3 years. Now they are able to do their job, so like any other person, they will start to receive their salary.
Yes,
we employ them for 2 years, so they need to open an account. So then you start to, maybe later we shall talk all the challenge that they also face when they try to be integrated in the society. But this is our mission, to create awareness, to show the society that is possible, and to tell them that with just generosity and opportunity, it is possible. They can do whatever we are doing in their own way, like all of us. We do our things in our own way, with our own personality, our own talent.
With our own capabilities.
Exactly, it's not a problem. The problem is when we start to compare each other. So now they will celebrate their graduation. The community is really very exciting about that. Also myself, because we want to show it's possible.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I like about this is the fact that there is an ultimate plan to reintegrate them back to the society. For me, I find that important because we've seen many institutions that are housing people with disabilities, and you'd find, say, even a 45-year-old who has been at the center from the time they were young to 45 years, they're still at the center. They've not been allowed that opportunity to get out and be part of the society, be part of the community. It could be they've not been equipped with skills that will help them survive, or nothing has been done to get them out of the disability and make them dependent, in as much as they may be challenged in one way or the other. So for me, the aspect of reintegration back to the society stands out for me. And I don't know what you think, Fael, when you see such initiatives like what you know, Father is sharing with us this morning. Do you think there has been a lot of investment in terms of resources and efforts to make sure that people with disabilities are taken care of? But do we ever think about the ultimate goal? What's the ultimate goal of doing all this rehabilitation, you know, taking them to school and all that? Do we ever think about that?
I think first and foremost, we must also think about starting from the beginning, from the foundation. When we have children with disabilities, what do we do? You know, how do we raise these children with disabilities? There is not much support on things such as this. So when a person is raising a child with a disability, and more so now I'll be specific to intellectual disability, you find that children with intellectual disability are not given meaningful education. Most of them are, you know, given some, you know, you can learn to maybe write your name or things like that, but there's not much that you're equipped with. And now once you leave school, what happens? You know, how do you transit from one point to another? You know, I am a sibling to a sister with an intellectual disability. I've seen the opportunities that I've gotten vis-a-vis the ones that she hasn't gotten because of her disability. And with that, you feel there's a huge gap that is very personal to me, because this is something that I can see from someone that I know and love. And that's why I am in an organization that is advocating, you know, and that creates awareness, you know, to the issues of persons with intellectual disabilities. And when I see what they're doing, I feel, you know, it's really amazing, because this is something that we also as an organization will learn from them, because we also have a center for persons with intellectual disabilities. And the transitioning from, you know, finishing their education on to getting a job and opening bank accounts and then earning a salary. I have seen, you know, from people that I know who have intellectual disability, when they're just given that opportunity and that ability to make their own decisions and that financial stability, you find that it's so much easier for them to make their own decisions. You may think they can't make decisions, or they're too stupid and foolish, quote unquote, but that's not the case. You know, persons with intellectual disabilities can make tons of decisions, and I love to say that they have a right to make bad decisions, because we
also do make our
bad
own
decisions.
So bad decisions as well. There is lack of mentorship, there is lack of guidance. Yes, they may need more of that as compared to other people. But if we grant them that opportunity, then they can be able to make decisions on their own. And we need to empower them to get to a point where now they can be on their own, and the burden will be lesser, as opposed to just making sure that we keep, you know, keep them around and keep them dependent and you know,
and call them a burden.
Disabled. Yeah. Talking about you know, where you come from. I was looking at a very shocking report. I want us to, you know, just get to look at it a bit. It's titled Infanticide and Abuse, Killing and Confinement of Children with Disabilities in Kenya. It was done with the Disability Rights International in collaboration with the organization that you represent today, the Kenya Association for the Intellectually Handicapped. Tend to look at the status of institutions that take care of children with disabilities in our country. More than 20 centers were part of the survey. And I was shocked by the findings that were reported in this particular research, that even today, because it's something that was done just recently, that even today there are doctors who still call children with disabilities as garbage. There are still people who believe that they are cursed. There are people that are still facing the pressure of killing their children. Even today, as we speak, in as much as we've empowered the society in all ways that we could. Tell us a bit about this particular report, and what is it that is standing out for you as you were conducting this particular survey?
I mean, this report was a very emotional one because it took a lot of emotional pressure on everyone involved, going to the field and talking to people, and also going to the institutions and looking at, persons or children with disabilities and those without disabilities going through really hard times. And, in the human rights model that we represent, we always used to think that in Africa there are no institutions, that most persons with disabilities are at home, so there's stigma in the house and in the community, and that's what we worked on most. But doing this report, we saw that institutions are actually there, and they're really, really in a bad state at the moment because there's no oversight. Nobody's checking on them to see what they're doing, so people are doing anything that they may want. Children are being locked, in their rooms for a really long time with nobody watching them. Some of the children have really high support needs. They cannot move around by themselves, so they'll wet themselves, they'll soil themselves. Children going through physical abuse. There's a lot of things that are going on. And also on the other side, we interviewed mothers or families, caregivers, persons with intellectual disabilities and other disabilities. We found that many of the mothers were talking about going through a lot of pressure to kill their children when they were young, or still even now people are being told that this is a curse in the family. In Narok, we were told that mothers were saying that you should go and throw your child in the bush and let them be killed by wild animals or by a lion. So many things are going on, and we need to try to understand and to realize and open our eyes and see that these are actually issues that are going on right now in the Kenya that we are in today, and we should try to do something about it, because we can't just, these are children, all children. We saw children without disabilities, children with disabilities, children with high support needs, so children with low support needs, there are children who, if they're given the best support, they can leave the institutions and do their own things, but they're still there, grounded, like you're saying. Some are there for a really long time. What are they still doing there? Why don't they have jobs? Why aren't they integrated in the society? Why are we, as their peers, in the society and going on with their lives? So it was a really shocking report, very emotional, and I think something needs to be done about it.
Indeed. There were allegations of abuse, sexual abuse at the institutions, trafficking of these children. And earlier when we were interacting, Father, you said that, even for you, this was something that was really shocking. You were surprised as well, because some of these cases, you've only just heard about them. Tell us a bit about also what you get from, the likes of what they've gathered from the institutions they went to conduct this survey from.
First, also myself, I was quite in shock to see the report. I went to read exactly. I think it was a good research, but for me was lacking also the other part, what some institutions are doing a good job and some schools are doing a good job. I'm talking because as a foreigner, I really receive many calling from different countries, Chile, Spain, and say, but what is this? I mean, Alex, because they know I'm in this field, I'm working with disability, so what is this? Is this true? This happened? Have you seen that? And honestly, from my perspective, being here for 8 years, I've not have experience to face this kind of situation.
The depth of what was represented.
I'm not saying that they're not there, because of course always your area is limited. But I've heard that before, maybe in some tribes, etc. But when the report says no, it's happened today, for me was really very strong. And I said, what we are doing. We are talking about Kenya. We are talking about your country. So I said, what's happened here? Why disability always come as an event, yeah, in every area that you want to analyze, from the politician, from social media, from business people. It's like disability come as an event and a topic that maybe we'll discuss today, and then nothing happened. I am agree that some institution, when they don't have supervision, our institution belong to the Catholic Church, so we have permanently supervision about it. Also, we work with international foundation. Always, you know, you have always regular supervision. But what's happened that here, sometimes this institution, they don't have supervision. Yeah, they don't have somebody to follow up to see. Let's go there. What's happened? How they are sleeping? How they are eating? How many people take care of this group? So my pain is like always disability come as an event. We talk, we have
Today
a discussion, but tomorrow is like this 4 million of Kenyan disappear. And that is terrible. I think that is the most painful part, because even sometimes to contact politicians, to contact people who supposed to be involved, it's very difficult. Finally, you stop because I'm wasting my time for nothing. I prefer to do something.
Allow me, sorry to cut you short, but Fael, when you are visiting these centers, for the ones you at least were part of, what were they telling you in terms of why the situation is the way it is? Why do they have an influx of children with disabilities that they are hosting, or the poor and very unfortunate conditions that these children are subjected to live on, especially the ones with disability? Because the report states very clearly that yes, we could have children who do not have disability and others have. So the situation is even worse for them that have disability. What were they telling you, the people who are in charge of these institutions? What were they telling you? Where could the problem be coming from exactly?
No, so most of the time what they would tell us is that their parents rejected these children and they brought them to the institutions. And they have an influx of children and they have little facilities, which means that they say that, you know, with little facilities, this is what we can afford and this is the food that we can afford to give them, even though it's not a balanced diet. But then we had a lot of questions of our own, because we felt that talking to the families, most of them will say that it's the institutions who will want to have the children. It's the area, the people who will like instigate you, take your child to a certain institution. This institution helps children with disabilities. Get rid of this issue and continue with your life. And that's
the parents are not that willing, but they are...
No, they're not, the families are not willing. And I can vouch for most of the families that I have seen who are still with their children. They love their children so much. These are children whom I myself don't know how I would raise, you know, because it's such a lot of responsibility. But the mothers just find a way to raise their children. They just find their own innovative ways and they love their children. So these other mothers, they're forced to do this without any options, no supports. There are no supports in Kenya. Most like these parents who I'm talking about who are still raising their children, they find their own means. Like one mother digs a hole on the ground and then puts her baby there.
I read about that.
Yes.
She's worried that when the child
and that I know her personally, yes. And she's a really strong woman, like doing that. Like, and this is a big boy, but she has to dig because he always keeps on hitting his head and will hurt himself, so she has to dig a shallow, you know, place for him to and to not hurt himself, put a cushion and something.
How
and
worry was that when my son becomes an adult and I may not be able to carry him wherever I'm going to get these odd jobs, what will I do?
What will I do?
Who will I leave him with at home? And these are cases that every parent with a child with disabilities is going through. They do not have anyone they can leave at home to take care of the child. At the same time, they need to go work to get money so that they can take care of the needs that the child is having.
And
so
we
dilemma
judge
there.
the mothers when they lock their kids, but sometimes they don't have an option, you know. Sometimes they lock because they need to leave and to go and get some money for them to feed this said child. So, you know, it's a lot of emotional torture and pressure for the
Father
parents.
Alex, I know at Orieno you have a different kind of setup, and speaking in an era where even Fael agrees that many parents are made to believe that to take a child to an institution, something that has been commonly known as to institutionalize, is the best solution you can give your child. Do you think that's the way to go? Does it really work that there they will get all the services and the basic needs that they need? Will they get everything that will help them become better people?
As our friend says here, these are very difficult topic to approach. Sometimes the first temptation is just to judge people and to say, but how this mother can do that? How that person, how? Usually, most of the time, abuse comes because of the circumstance. And the circumstance is the society who create it. So if a mother doesn't have any option, she needs to go for work. He needs to get the daily bread. And I have a child with me that I cannot carry. There is no another option that to remain, to leave the child at home. So, but other can say, but how? The mother doesn't have options sometimes. So then we go back again. The society sometimes create all of us this situation and to create an abuse. So definitely for us, institution is not the way. Many of our countries, we have institutions. Like in Europe or in America, most of our centers are residential. But we are also review that, and when we came to Kenya and we decided to start with the new one, say now it's time to change, because we receive sometimes children of 6, 7 years old. They are not orphanage, but they became orphanage because the parents says, my child here is in a good condition, has a better house than what I have, he eat better than what I'm eating, so that also, is the best place.
They're not orphans?
No, but they disappear. You know, human beings, we always have this tendency not to say, now somebody else can do it. And they disappear. So we said here, no. And we said, here we have now a daily center. But has been also difficult to convince the parent.
What strategy do you use? How does it work really? Like Orieno, because it's not a boarding sort of setup.
It's not a boarding. Okay, first it became a little more expensive because you need to provide transport, you need to provide teacher, you need to provide. But we visit the parent one by one, went to their home to try to understand the family life. And from there, we told them the best place for your son is with you. We will support you because we know you lack help, but we'll support you. So in the morning, you need to take your son to the bus station where our bus pass, and then it will be our responsibility until 1 or 2 o'clock p.m. During these hours, you, mama, can organize your life in a very normal way, to go for kibarua, to do your issues at home, but at 2 or 3, you need to receive your child again. Now, the problem comes when the parent insists, but it cannot be boarding. So I can go then to visit. I can go to.
They all want the child to be there.
Exactly.
They feel like they're safer.
But say no. The best child, the best place for the child is the family. When the mothers take the child to the bus, it's also inclusion. People start to see we are in a very congested area, Ongata Rongai, where the bus pass. So at the beginning was, what is this? What bus is this? What kind of children are inside? At the beginning was like a, what is this? And many of them, and all of them has the same condition. But little by little, the community start to assimilate. It's normal that every morning I will see Mama Samuel with his child here, waiting for the bus. But again, we need to change the mentality.
But is it practical though? Like we can have several Orieno community training centers. Like, you know, what I'm saying is something that is almost similar to that. Is it practical looking at the environment in which these families live? Most of these families feel like they do not have enough to give the child. And even the report is against putting the children in an institution somewhere that does not even necessarily cater for their needs. But if we go this direction, is it something that we can really sustain for long?
I think it is, because
how do we do that?
How do we do it? I think the basic thing is to have like either political goodwill or something like the government doing something about this, because what we do have at the moment, what the government is providing is these institutions where they'll go to learn things like salon or, you know, like I don't know, cobbler or something like that, which is not giving them a lot of options, which also has its own restrictions, because maybe some of them is you have to have a Class 8 certificate and things like that. So if we remove some of these barriers and the existing places that we have now, the existing workshops, we can create them into a much better and more inclusive environment for all persons, so that even people with disabilities and intellectual disabilities can come in. For me, I advocate more into inclusion and having them in places where everyone else is, but I do recognize the need to have them. Right now, we need to solve the situation, and the situation is that many of them do not have skills, and that is why organizations such as his exist, and mine as well, to create awareness and to give solutions. And so part of the solution is making sure that right now we can educate people who have intellectual disabilities at the moment. We need to educate them now and to give them opportunities now, because they are lacking that. They lack certificates, they lack, you know, a lot of things, and this create a lot of barriers. So that needs to change, but even though maybe certificates cannot be granted right now, so education should be granted right now.
Currently, as we talk about lack of support for the parents who are willing to live with their children, currently where are we at as a country in terms of government support or stakeholder support? So where are we at if you were to look at that? What do we have, you know, for parents with children with disabilities?
So parents who have children or persons who have severe disabilities are given a cash transfer through the Social Security Fund, which is 2,000 bob per month, 2,000 bob. So it's not really a monthly allowance, and it's 2,000 Kenya shillings. So
it's annual?
Nope. It's okay. So the truth is that many parents right now are saying that it's not coming. Many who are talking right now, who are coming to our offices and asking us what's going on, are saying that they've not received it for the past 4 months. So people have an issue. It was supposed, I think, to come after every 2 months, but then I don't know if that's quite what's going on. Still, it's 2,000 bob. So even the person who's getting it consistently, it's 2,000 Kenya shillings. And so for that amount of money, with the Kenya that we are in today, what will that provide for a child with high support needs? And also, who is a person with a severe disability? Like, this has limited a lot of people with, let's say, intellectual or psychosocial disabilities who have a lot of high support needs but do not have any physical.
Anything that you can see.
Yeah, not something physical. It's something that is within them, and they need a lot of support. So what happens to this person? So I think we need to demystify all of this. And I think I'm not a fan of just bashing the government without providing solutions. So I think I do thank the government for what they're doing. They're looking into disability a lot more, but I think more does need to be done, especially for persons with invisible disabilities, because they're the ones who don't get the opportunities, and they're the ones who are left behind.
Talking about support, and this one I'd like to kind of hit the organizations that claim to support children with disabilities a bit. I saw in the report that in as much as we are talking about more support that needs to be done, there are organizations that are also taking advantage of this disability conversation and topic to make money. That we have a lot of institutions that have so many volunteers and donors, international donors, that are sending money in dollars and all those currencies every year, and they are sponsoring children, these institutions, and money is coming in and trickling in like on a regular basis, enough to cater and support these children in a way that is humane and can take care of their needs in the way that they deserve. But we have a few people that are still not just doing that. They are using that institution as a cash cow. No wonder they go knocking the doors of parents and telling them, give us your child, we can take care of your child, so that they have a number that they can take very, you know, merciful photos of and send abroad to get money. So is there a way of, because you are in this industry, is there a way that there's some sort of control of who is qualified and eligible to open a center and claim to be supporting, you know, children with disabilities? Is there something like that, a safeguarding, you know, authority or so? Or I can just wake up today and decide I feel like I can just open a center and bring in 30 children and, you know, how does it work? I like that.
Okay.
Because it hits on, you know, so everyone is becoming too careful to
No,
you know,
not careful. I want to respect first people from Kenya,
Yes.
because you as a foreigner, of course, you always have maybe a different perception. So I have my perception,
right, so
but
you'd
I
prefer
want
sisters?
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
Kenya
Is it
first.
true? At least you're part of,
No,
you know.
it is true, but wanatuharibia jina, but then it's the thing is that I think more should be done in terms of making sure that so it's what you're saying, many people are just opening organizations out of nowhere, registering them. Mostly they'll register as a community-based organization, which is not much looked into. There's just a few documents you have to give, and that's it. But what we are trying to advocate for, and also with the families that we work is work with places that are advocacy based, do not work with places that are charity based. And because when you work with charities are always like, they'll take the photos and take them to said donors and then come back with solutions and take your kid and do some sort of things over there. That's what we're kind of trying to go away from. We're trying to tell families that our organization does not give you money. We will not give you money, but we will give you a platform to have a voice and to speak up for yourself and to, you know, make decisions for yourself and to advocate for the things that you need and find ways, you know, to get that. Also provide solutions through maybe something that is economically based, like financially based. But then we are advocating for that and moving away from the charity model where organizations are there to give you all the solutions in life and, you know, to take your child and to create this. So families these days are much more aware, and especially in the Nairobi area, if you're an organization that wants to take photos, you'll find a lot of problems because families will try to push you away, knowing that you're trying to, because that was something that happened a while ago and it created a lot of issues. Children were taken, you know, children were molested, a lot of bad things were happening and still are happening, which was also a shocker to me because I thought that that had ended. But doing this report, clearly it has not ended.
Like
no, it has not. Yes, yes.
It's so unfortunate because still we hear stories of people who transport persons with disabilities to town in the morning.
Yes.
Sit them at various essential points for the day to borrow money and ask for help from people and take them back at some certain center somewhere and take that money away from them. Why do people see disability as a source of income? As you also add your earlier response to my initial question, Father Alex.
Yeah, for me, again, I see that the problem is in the system. There is no a very clear strategic plan for somebody who want to work in this area. For example, if somebody want to open an institution, maybe you will get the necessary document, maybe you will try to get some help from the government, and then the government will say, okay, you know, everybody is saying today there is no money, but your initiative is good, so you look for the way. That is the first mistake. You cannot say you look for the way to look for fund. That is the beginning of corruption, is the beginning of a dark business, is the beginning to give, about financial issues, you cannot give a lot of freedom. It is impossible. So when the government is not able to cover, they give the freedom to the institutions to look for your way. What does it mean that?
Fend for yourself.
Exactly. So that is the first, for me, a big problem. Personally, our institution don't work with the government about resources. All of them are private resources, but all of our audit report, everything is there, because when you work with institutions or foundations, international foundations today, they are very strict about money.
So there has to be accountability.
Of course, report accountability.
You write reports on how you spent your money.
Of course, and the audit report every year. One of our sponsors, for example, is the World Bank. World Bank is terrible in that. They want to know only the money that I'm giving to you. No, show me all the. So when you have supervision, it is very important. But this humble homes that appear nowhere because it's the initiative of somebody who has a good
Private,
heart, and they look for their way, is very dangerous. And so there is, for me, where the big problem is, and also from the government. I think all of us, we are aware, we have a big problem of corruption, even in the area of disability some years ago. So imagine, so the problem must be solved from the root. To say, okay, let us be transparent, let us see what we can do. The government must done a part, because these are people who belong to the society, education, rehabilitation, like anybody else, and then the private also, they need to pay to do something in many ways.
All right. Father, let me take you back to where we started. I understand you have a graduation tomorrow. Talk to us a bit about what's coming up, you know, because we're talking about coming away from research and paperwork and making things practical. It's beautiful that this is happening, that they're getting an opportunity to smile and feel like, hey, we have achieved something. Tell us a bit about that.
Okay, we are very happy. First of all, we are very grateful with God, with our sponsor, our benefactor, our partners, because it's an achievement to see them to be graduated like any other student is something big for us. And beautiful, and it gives us a lot of hope. Why? Because those students are already well known by the society. Why? Because the training, part of the training is to sell the vegetables, because now we'll employ them. So they go and they distribute. We have a system of home delivery. That's why private people can help. How I can help? Buy the vegetable. That's not charity. You buy the vegetable, where you buy your vegetable, maybe in anywhere you don't know. Here is a product. Buy this product because it's good. But the person who is behind of these cabbages or lettuce or spinach is a person who has different capacities, because all of us, we are disabled in one or in another area.
That's true.
So do it, so now the society recognizing them. They can work, yes. They can dig, yes. They can water it, yes. They can harvest, yes. So for us, the graduation is like the process to show the society is possible. Now these people, where they are going, because it's the main, sometimes when you assist in this university and you see many graduated people, say, where they are going now, who will employ them? So for us, we say the center will employ them in our farming project, and they will save money for 2 years. After, they will start their own business, because maybe they are not comfortable. I don't like farming, I like a saloon, I want to make a cake. Now is
they're allowed to do that.
But you need to be realistic. For start the project, they need to have some money, like all of us. So first get the money, even if you will do something that maybe you are not very happy. Not all of us, we are so happy in maybe.
People start out in places they're not happy to get something they want.
I like the sense, I don't know if it was you who said that they have the right to make mistake. Of course, why not? Why not? See, everybody, we are product of all the possibilities. So that's why we really want to invite to celebrate with us. We celebrate diversity. We celebrate that, thanks God, all of us, we are different. We are not stone. We are different, and this is what we celebrate.
The where and the time?
Is in Ongata Rongai, village called Kandisi. It's at 10 o'clock.
All right.
Everybody invited.
All are invited.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. And you can learn more about what they are doing, what they have achieved. And what I like is you're going away from charity and making them work for the money that they earn, and even society to appreciate them for their efforts. That is very good. And you get the chance to give us the final word on this conversation, Fayel. Yes. 20 seconds.
The final word would be learn more about intellectual disability and invisible disabilities, and do your best to support someone who has that kind of a disability.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Still, I would say and insist, disability is not inability. You see, the inability part is what we create for them. What we need to do is to open up spaces and make them people that can be able to access all these rights and opportunities that we all access in the society. And you will see, in time, we'll get rid of the inability part, and we will all be useful citizens. We will all be independent and we can all achieve what we need to achieve in life. My name is Safin Achieng Ouma. We've come to the end of our morning show for today, but remember to join us tomorrow bright and early for another edition of Good Morning Kenya. Thank you so much for creating time to be with us today. On behalf of the entire production crew, have a lovely day, but keep watching KBC Channel 1.